Good morning and welcome to Peace Out, where we are all learning together to peace out. I have a cool announcement. Our book of the week is the book of James. We just printed 500 more copies, and I was able to finish paying for the printing of 31 Days in Psalm 31. That's amazing, right? All in Urdu to distribute around Pakistan. Our next thing to do is to cover the cost of reprinting again. This will put us somewhere around 5,000 copies, if I'm not mistaken. No, over 5,000 copies of the leadership. Got to do the leadership book next. So I think the quote I got was about a little over 350 for 500 copies, maybe 375, something like that for five. It was less than $400 for 500 copies. That's not bad. That's because it's already typeset and ready. All they have to do is print it, so they don't have to set it up. So that's pretty awesome. So that's the next thing on my project. In the meantime, you can buy those books, all of those, over on Amazon, or the ebook on buymeacoffee.com/Jeannie Olinger. You can buy the 31 Days in Psalm 31, the James Study Guide, and the Leadership Manual, all on those both of those platforms. So, and help support the printing costs over in Pakistan. I almost said Africa. Am I going to Africa next? That'll be awesome. Anyway, so I hope you're having a good morning. I'm having a pretty good morning. It hasn't been bad. I am a little bit behind, and I apologize, but that's okay. So I was thinking about all the stories that we've talked about this week. We've talked about David being in the cave, about Jonah being in the belly of the well. We talked about pits and dark places, caves, things like that, and how God meets us in those places. And so this morning I was like, well, what do all of these have in common? What do all these, I mean, other than they were in a hard spot and God rescued them, they did not stay there. We talked about that yesterday. And I thought, you know what? Each one of these stories, Jeremiah being in the pit, David being in the pit, Jonah being in the belly of the well, each of these, in those situations, they all did the same thing. It says they cried out to God. And that's awesome, because God meets us in those places. And we talked about that earlier, right? That God comes there. God does. He meets us no matter what we're going through. Nothing in our lives is off limits to God. He doesn't say, no, I don't do hospitals. I don't do grief. I don't do this. I just do the happy stuff. I just do the fun stuff. No, he's there for us no matter what. But each one of them cried out to God. Even Jonah in the belly of the well was smart enough, even though he wasn't too smart to get there, but he was smart enough once he got himself in that predicament. Yeah, he cried out to God and said, right? And so David wasn't there by choice. Jeremiah wasn't there by choice. Jonah's choices got him in the dark pit, the belly of the well, on the bottom of the sea. That's a song, right? Anyway, so but it didn't matter why they were there. They cried out to God, right? They cried out to God, each one of them. But I don't even want to major on that part. I mean, I do want to say, no matter what you're facing today, and it could be good or bad, just cry out to God. Ask God. Say, hey, God, that's good enough. You don't have to have an eloquent speech. You don't have to write it all out. You don't even have to think it all out. Sometimes just going, God, is enough. That's calling out on God. Sometimes you don't even have words to call out on God when things are, this morning is my good friend's funeral. And so I've lost 3 really good friends in like the last 9 months, last year, less than a year. And I'm like, I don't even have words for how I feel about that. I just kind of feel numb right now. And I'm like, I don't even have, and it's okay, because God even gets our silence. He even gets our sighs. He gets it, everything behind a tear that might slip out of our eyes, right? If our eyes sweat a little bit, he gets everything behind it. He gets if there's fear, he gets if there's joy, he gets if there's sadness, he gets if there's grief, he gets if you're excited about something and you're like, I don't really cry much at all, but you never know. And he gets everything behind that. He understands every intimate, intricate detail about our emotions, and our emotional responses to things that happen in life. He gets it. You don't even have to have words to call out on God, because you call out from your heart. It's just an open heart going, oh, and that sigh, he gets it. But that's not even what I want to major on. I want to major on what they all said. Each one of them said, I cried out to God from the pit, from the belly of the well, from the dark place, from the back of the cave, and he heard me. God hears us. You know that I use the story of Hagar. I love the story of Hagar. I read it often, and she had two encounters with God, and one of them she said, "God, I'm blessed because God sees me." The other one she said, "God heard me." It's so important to feel heard. Now, I made a cardiologist appointment for January just because I got to make sure my medicine, my Eliquis, gets filled for free, right? Otherwise, it's too much money, and I'm not going to fill it anyway. And so there's nothing going on, and so I thought, should I get a new cardiologist? I don't like my cardiologist. I just don't care for him. I don't trust him. I just don't care, right? And I thought, no, you know what? He doesn't listen to me, but at least I know what to expect. He's going to come in, type on his computer, think whatever he wants to think, and it doesn't matter what question I ask. It doesn't matter what response I have, how I answer his questions. He's already figured out what he wants. And so usually when I come back the next time, he goes, well, why don't you try this? And I suggested that last time and he didn't hear me, right? And so it's so frustrating trying to talk to someone that doesn't hear you, that doesn't listen. Oh, he hears me physically. There's nothing wrong with his hearing. He hears me physically, but he's not listening to me. And when God heard them in their dark places, not only does he hear that physically, but he gets it. He listened to them. He heard what they were saying and he listened to them. And then he acted on it. My cardiologist doesn't act on it. I'll just talk to the nurse who doesn't like me anyway, and that's okay. But I know what to expect. The whole appointment will last 30 minutes and I'll be done. That's great. I'll have somebody to sit with Chris for 2 hours and I'll have a whole hour and a half to almost an hour and a half by the time I drive there, that whole 3 minutes, right? And so I know what to expect. But with God, we know what to expect too. He's not like that cardiologist. He's not listening, thinking already, well, I don't care what you're saying. I'm going to do this. He has us and he ties to our tears, to our heart's cry, even the stuff we don't have words for in that place. So we can trust today that God hears us because he's listening, not just a physical hear, but a soul connection and a soul hearing. He hears our soul. He hears those groans that we can't even let out. He hears the sighs. He hears it all. He listens to us and he gets us. And that's why we can peace out. Peace out, you guys. Have a great day. I'll see you bright and early Monday morning.